It's always about the assailant's future and never about how the survivor's future has been tainted.
A third-year McGill University student in computer science is speaking out 2 years after she says she was a victim of sexual violence by a classmate and friend in the fall of 2021, alleging the university did not do enough to support her through the reporting process. City News has agreed to keep her identity confidential as she fears repercussions.
They didn't care enough to treat this situation with the sensitivity that it needed. And I feel like I'm not the only person who's dealt with this.
When she sought support from the Office for Sexual Violence Response Support and Education, she said there was a 3-week wait for an appointment, which would have been during her exam period.
If I have to wait 3 weeks to receive some sort of support that I don't even know is going to help me, I'd rather just get over it myself. If the school doesn't care, why should I?
The student considered filing a police report, but says she avoided it, discouraged by the possible length of the proceedings. According to Statistics Canada data from 2019, sexual assault that year had the lowest rate of reporting of all crimes, with only 6% of incidents brought to police.
I'm glad I stuck with that decision because the 3 months that I spent with the investigation itself was so incredibly draining. I couldn't go into certain buildings because I was afraid of seeing him. I was afraid of going into elevators because I was scared that we'd be in a small space with one another.
McGill had the case investigated by a third party, a law firm that wrote a 45-page confidential report in April 2022. The survivor then says she met with the dean of students about the sanctions.
For the dean of students to come back to me and say that it'd be unduly punishing him to not allow him to be in the same classes as me if we had too many courses overlapping was so incredibly inappropriate. And even afterwards, in the fall 2022 semester, when I switched into his major, we had one class that overlapped, and it kind of felt like I had to fight to have him pushed out of that class, when in which that should have been a given after having gone through 3 months of that investigating process.
McGill says to their knowledge there hasn't been a case where a survivor and respondent have been in the same class after a finding of sexual violence or once immediate measures were taken before a finding of sexual violence. They say they cannot comment on specific cases due to privacy laws. In a statement, they tell City News, "Our university has been working hard to build a safe and inclusive campus community, and we are sorry to hear of any situation where a survivor of sexual violence within our community experienced insufficient support. The university responds immediately anytime a report of sexual violence is made to a university authority. Since fall 2020, every case where sexual violence was found to have occurred pursuant to an investigation resulted in implementing no contact orders in person, electronically, or through a third party. Our sexual violence policies, procedures, and resources are reviewed on an ongoing basis."
We might think that we've progressed so much, but we haven't at all.
If you have been a victim of sexual violence, call 911 or the Montreal Sexual Assault Center helpline at 1-888-933-9007. In Montreal, Alyssia Rubertucci, City News.